Hello again, everyone. This is Bob Milam from the Utah High School Football Officials Association with another study topic for 2023. Today, we are talking about player numbering, and we'll cover this subject today. So let's get started. Our overview for today, what we're going to talk about is this. We'll look at why players wear numbers in football and why that's important for us to know. Basics of forward pass eligibility, we'll cover those. We'll spend some time looking at Rule 725, which is numbering action at the snap. Rule 756, which talks about pass eligibility rules. We'll look at a couple of numbering situations for scrimmage kick formations and discuss those, and take a look at the two numbering exceptions in two different scenarios there. Finally, we'll look at backs who are wearing numbers 50 through 79, and then sum everything up and leave some time for questions. So, with that, let's get right into it here. Our background today. First of all, we just need to know that players must wear jerseys that are numbered 0 through 99. There's no -5, 106, or 3.5. These are integers from 0 to 99, and they have to wear those numbers in the game. Numbers 50 through 79 are never eligible receivers at any time. If they're wearing those numbers, you can't report in high school football. You can't claim to be an eligible receiver if you're wearing one of these numbers. Now, realize too that these things that we're talking about today apply mainly to varsity level contests. Sub-varsity contests, use your best judgment and work with the teams if possible. But for varsity level contests, numbers 50 through 79 are never eligible receivers. Now, it's important to note that more than one team member may dress in an identical numbered jersey, so that you can have two number 4s on the squad if you choose to. So more than one team member may dress in identically numbered jersey, but each player in the game must wear a uniquely numbered jersey while they're in the game. No, no duplicate numbers in the game at the same time. But team members are not restricted to wear the same number throughout the game. So if a player decides that he must change his jersey and put on a different number, that is perfectly legal according to the rules. And there's no need to give a reason for doing so. It can simply just be at the team's discretion. Well, why do players wear numbers to begin with? Well, coaches, announcers, and fans can more easily identify individuals at both games and in film study if they're wearing these numbers. And that's important to note because a lot of football players, frankly, they look alike. When they put their helmets on and their pads, they all look about the same. So it's important that people can tell people apart for that reason. So they wear numbers. Also, it's more important in football than in many other sports to have players who are wearing numbers. And the numbering rules allow for the defense to more easily identify players and non players, substitutes and replace players, and eligible and ineligible receivers. Now, these terms that I've used in this particular topic here, um, players, non players, substitutes, replace players, these are all terms that are defined in the rule book. So if you don't know what a replaced player is, or if you don't know what a player is, go and look in the definitions in Rule 2. And all of these terms are defined. But the bottom line is that most of the time, it's because of forward pass eligibility rules, so that the defense can easily identify and cover the receivers who are ready to go out for passes. Now, the basics, some of the basics of football that we deal with all the time on every play are these. there's a maximum of 6 eligible receivers for the offense at the beginning of each scrimmage down. But there are no restrictions during free kick downs. And why is that? Well, because there's no legal forward pass that can be thrown during a free kick down. So there's no need for eligibility rules to apply during those downs. So no restrictions for free kicks. Eligibility is determined by both number and position in the offensive formation. So look at Rule 756A, and they'll tell you this. So they must wear numbers 0 through 49 or 80 through 99, and they have to be positioned as one of the 2 ends on the line of scrimmage or one of the 4 backs in the formation, one of the 6 eligible receiving formations or positions rather. The eligibility status of a player is retained throughout the down. This is covered in Rule 756D. So if you start the down and you are eligible, you remain that way throughout the down. So it's important to note that just simply because of running out of bounds and then coming back into the play, that does not cancel your eligibility for that down. Now, Rule 725 talks about action and numbering at the snap. And at the snap, the offense in a football game must have these things. All players for the upcoming down must have momentarily been inside the 9-yard marks after the ready for play. This is Rule 721 on page 61. Also, there must be at least 5 A players on the line of scrimmage at the snap and no more than 4 backs. This is spelled out in Rule 725A. So at least 5 players on the line at the snap and no more than 4 backs. At least 5 A players on their line must be numbered 50 through 79. There are a couple of exceptions to this that are spelled out in Rule 725B, but it's important to note that unless we're in those exception situations, that on every scrimmage down, at least 5 A players on the line must be numbered 50 through 79. No players can wear identical numbers, but B players may be anywhere on or behind their line of scrimmage. There's no restriction for the defense. Now, there are a couple of formations that offer exceptions to this strict numbering policy, and we're going to talk about those. These are the scrimmage kick formations, which are defined on page 31 of the rule book in Rule 214.2 and also in Rule 725B, the 2 exceptions, which are found on page 62. So you need to go look at these rules and study these exceptions. There are 2 different formations that qualify as scrimmage kick formations, and the numbering exceptions apply differently to each one of these 2 different formations. Here is the first one. This is defined in Rule 214.2a, and it's commonly known as a field goal formation, or it's used on an extra point or a try to prepare to kick a field goal. The second scrimmage kick formation is defined in 214b. This is a punt formation, and we're going to talk about these 2 types of formations now. So let's define them first. First, 214.2a, the field goal formation. No player is in position for a hand-to-hand snap. That's met in this photo. Also, there's a player with a knee on the ground who is 7 or more yards or more behind the line of scrimmage, in position to be a holder and in position to receive a snap. Also, another player 3 yards behind him who is in position to attempt a place kick. That's how we reach and we qualify as a scrimmage kick formation under the rules of 214.2a. 214.2b is a little simpler. No player is in position for a hand-to-hand snap. There is a player at least 10 or more yards behind the line of scrimmage who is in position to receive a long snap. and this qualifies as a punt formation. Now let's look at the two formations one at a time and how numbering applies when a team lines up in a qualifying scrimmage kick formation. Numbering exception number 1. This is the first one, and it applies on first, second, and third down only when Team A sets in this field goal scrimmage kick formation. If they're in this formation on first, second, or third down, only the snapper may legally be numbered other than 50 through 79. So this is an exception to our numbering policy. Then, with the 4 other linemen who are numbered 50 through 79, Rule 725 is satisfied. So the snapper may wear a different number other than 50 through 79. But the snapper in this formation on first, second, or third down must be covered by an end. And the snapper remains ineligible by position. So he cannot be an eligible pass receiver in this formation. So this is the first, second, or third down exception, and it does not apply if the punt formation is used on first, second, or third down. So if a punt formation is used, they must have a snapper who is numbered 50 through 79. They can't bring in a special snapper on first, second, or third down and qualify as a scrimmage kick formation. Let's look at the second exception, number 2. This is an exception that applies on fourth down or during a try, regardless of the type of scrimmage kick formation that the team is in. When A sets in either formation A or B, then numbering exception number 2 can apply. Any player on the line for the offense may wear any number. There's no restriction on fourth down or a try. The 5 interior linemen remain ineligible by position, and ends wearing 50 through 79 are also ineligible by number. They are always ineligible. So if a team lines up on fourth down during a try in either of these formations, they're allowed to put any player on the line of scrimmage wearing any number that they want and have a legal formation. Now, what are the implications of this? Well, in all cases, whether a numbering exception applies or not, if they're in a scrimmage kick formation, either one of those two, the snapper receives protection when a scrimmage formation is used on any down, whether or not a numbering exception applies or not. That triggers the roughing the snapper penalty, which can be assessed. So, in all cases, whether or not they're in a numbering exception or using one of these numbering exceptions, the snapper is protected. So, umpires and wings, you've got to know who is eligible and who isn't as they line up for these two formations and know when the exceptions apply and when they don't. The penalty for this is a live ball illegal formation foul of 5 yards, which can either be added to the end of the kick play or from the previous spot 5 yards and replay the down. And you've got to watch and know who the ineligibles are to make sure that they don't go downfield or they don't touch the ball illegally. So make sure that you know who the eligibles are and who the ones aren't. And the easiest way to do this is by number, position, and knowing the exceptions. Let's look at backs who are numbered 50 through 79. There's some specific rules that apply to them as well, and some concepts that we need to cover here. Backs are always ineligible forward pass receivers if they're wearing 50 through 79, and this applies no matter where they are relative to the line of scrimmage. So if they receive or touch a legal forward pass anywhere on the field, that's an illegal touch. They are not eligible to receive a legal forward pass, even if they're behind their line of scrimmage. Backs who are numbered 50 through 79 don't count as one of the 5 required linemen to satisfy Rule 725. So in addition, if they line up a number 63 at fullback, they must have at least 5 on the line who are numbered through 50 through 79. A back who wears one of these numbers may carry the ball. They may throw a forward or a backward pass. They can receive a snap, a legal handoff, or a backward pass. Their restriction only applies to receiving legal forward passes. All right, well, let's sum up what we've talked about today because we've covered some rules here that are somewhat obscure, and a lot of people don't understand how they work together. But numbers are there to define and clarify pass eligibility to the defense. So, in general, they have to be complied with at the snap, basically on every down. There are two exceptions, though. But it's also okay if a team chooses to lose an eligible receiver through numbering. If they have more than 5 on the line, numbered 50 through 79, they may lose an eligible receiver during that formation, but that's legal and it's okay to do that if the team chooses to. Now we've reviewed the two types of scrimmage kick formations, the field goal and the punt formations. You need to make sure that you learn the first, second, and third down exceptions as well as the fourth down exceptions, which are different for fourth down and tries. Most of the time, we will see these exceptions come into play because most teams do not line up in a field goal or punt formation on first, second, or third down. But it can happen from time to time, especially at the end of a half. So make sure that you understand how these exceptions and when these exceptions apply. Remember what backs numbered 50 through 79 can and can't do. And read Rule 725 and 756 again and again and watch your film. Now, finally, most coaches, officials, players, and fans don't understand how this rule works. So, here's what I want you to do. Don't go looking for this foul. Correct it first when you see it in the game, correct it and point it out. And then, if the team persists after attempts at correction, that's when you should throw your flag and call this foul. So make sure that you give the teams a chance to correct the problem first. And if they don't, then throw the flag. Well, that covers it for numbering rules. We want to thank you for your attention this season. As we prepare to go into the playoffs, we hope you have a successful end to the 2023 season.